What's going on, Workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we're talking about is Final Fantasy XIV Pay to Win. This is a subject that's been brought up on a couple of different streams, and essentially as people both rage and or defend New World, especially as they've been talking about their cash shop, I've seen people say if you consider that pay to win, then you have to consider 14 pay to win. So we figured we'd sit down today, really kind of talk it out, hash it out, but this hopefully is just as in Chris and I's thoughts. We really want to know what you guys think. So you can sound off in the comments below, or you can always come join us Monday through Friday. 8 a.m. kickoff for streams over on Twitch. You can come let us know what you think, because this is a subject I think is very personal, and I think it's a subject that's always evolving, especially as the industry evolves. Chris, you went on, I think, another awesome Chris rant today. We have the highlight over on Work to Game TV. We've renamed it to Game Club to Work to Game TV. It felt a little bit more in line with what that channel has become. But why don't you give us some thoughts on what you have? Maybe try to set some context where you might be coming from, and then let's just light the scandal.
So when I buy a game, I view it as $1 of I want $1 for every single dollar I spend on the game. I want to buy an hour of joy.
Mm-hmm.
That means any hour of misery or pain doesn't count, and so that's disconnects. That's content you don't want to do in the game. That doesn't count. That's a chore to get through. I don't count it against the game. You just got to sludge through it to get back to the joy. And so a $60 purchase is 60 hours worth of joy. MMOs are way cheaper than that. MMOs are pennies per hour. They are dirt cheap, even if you subtract out all the hours you don't enjoy. That means that if a game has a really good leveling experience, I'm going to do that. I think Guild Wars is a really neat leveling experience. I think that if you're not into story, Final Fantasy XIV, especially the early, ARR expansion, is not a very good leveling experience. The content to story ratio is something that Yoshi P himself has said they've learned a lot since. And so if you don't like the story portion, the combat portion, especially with how it's aged, is not the most graceful introduction to the game compared to what you're seeing on streams and in YouTube and your friends and your family are telling you about in Shadowbringers, where you could skip the story and the content itself is still very enjoyable. ARR gave us some incredible trials. That is not what you're going to spend most of your time doing. You're going to spend some time doing that, and you're going to spend a whole lot of time running back and forth between Aetherites, especially before you get that mount. So with all of that said, there comes a question of, are boosts pay to win? And this is a hot topic right now because New World has come out and they've said, hey, we're considering what all is going to be in our cash shop. We're making those choices. Now, they have two choices on how they could have done this. They could have said, we're going to release the game, and once you decide you like it, we're going to tell you how we plan on making this a sustainable long-term live service model, which is going to require money. Mm-hmm. Now, many people would have been frustrated at that, saying, hey, you really waited until you kind of got me some sunk cost theory, and then you just pulled out the tab, like going into a restaurant and ordering something that's market price, and then I enjoy my meal, and at the end I have to deal with whatever they bring to me.
Yeah.
That's awful. That's manipulative. It's deceitful. You should have told me up front that you were going to be selling this type of service, or all of this was going to be locked behind money, or that you were going to, you should have told me. The other way they can do it is they can just present the bad news up front, like those restaurants that have their menus taped to the window. That doesn't feel good either. Nice to meet you, Brian. Hey, just so you know, looking forward to having a nice day at the movie with you. If you could go ahead and give me $20 now, that's how much your piece cost. But I'd love to get to know you here as we walk into the movie. That doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. The first thing out of their mouth is asking you for money, but you don't win.
Right.
So the question becomes, is it pay to win? And then the question there is, well, in Final Fantasy, does it impress anybody that I'm level 80? Are any of you shocked? I don't mean to alarm you, but I have more than one level 80. I've made it to level cap in Guild Wars, which has been the same level cap since multiple presidents. Mm-hmm. It hasn't gone any, is having the experience portion done for you winning? Is that the definition of winning? I would argue in something like Diablo, where there's a race and there's a reset and there's a ladder, yes, because it's about who can get the furthest before the reset. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are winning. That is a definition of winning. There is a literal leaderboard. But in MMOs, Most MMOs, because they don't want people feeling like they need to rush, have moved away from the world first leveling type model. They've actually moved to moving raids and hard raids to being delayed. They're not there on launch so that people don't feel like they need to rush or take the day off work. They can enjoy those first couple weeks at whatever type of content and whatever type of pace they'd like to do. Final Fantasy XIV is coming out on November 19th for everybody that it's pre-ordered. And as a live service game, the vast majority of the player base is going to pre-order. It is the official launch date. What will be on all the marketing for the rest of the world is November 23rd. The vast majority of this community will play that weekend, especially in the US where they're trying to get it beat prior to Thanksgiving. We will be level capped and have cleared the story likely prior to the game having ever come out. It hasn't even released yet, and I'm already at level cap, where I will stay at cap for basically 2 years. I didn't win. I didn't even beat the level 80 content yet. There will be MSQ that takes place after or level 90. There will be MSQ that I haven't even finished the story at level 90. Who cares?
What's interesting about it is that also when we look at how 14 handles boosts, which they do have, you pre-order right now, which honestly I would say if you're enjoying your time, you should. And this is the one exception where I'm like, yeah, absolutely pre-order the game, because immediately you get an earring that gives you a boost of experience up to level 80. However, 14 doesn't offer boosts over
for the
level
amazing
80.
Skill of pre-ordering.
Right, for just pre-ordering. But there are those kind of items by playing the game that help give you additional experience, and I highly recommend you take advantage of each and every one, especially as you are leveling. Especially because the thing is, a lot of people don't realize, is you sync down with especially some of the gear that didn't auto-sync to you before we got the earrings from the Stormblood and, Shadowbringers and now Endwalker. But before it would say, oh, if you're actually sub 50 or sub 40 or whatever the piece of item was, like as long as you're in synced gear or synced levels, that actually still gave you the bonus. So it was like there was still a value in having those items equipped in specific pieces of content. What's interesting is that you don't have those boosts to go to cap. And that's kind of where I think a lot of the things are interesting. Being that, like, if you look at boosts in games, it's like, okay, what's the purpose of the boost? Do we design a leveling experience that you want to get through? Like, that you just want to get out of this so you can experience the real game? Which is a model that some people have expectations for MMOs. I don't think 14 is that model based off of what you've said, and what we've kind of said here on the channel. Like, enjoy the story. Like, they don't have the raid. There is no raid on the 19th. There is no raid on the 23rd to go and do. Enjoy your time. Enjoy playing and learning the skills. Enjoy your experience. Enjoy the excitement. And that there is like, yeah, you can go rush. Maybe if people want to go race to the end and skip through story and what have you. I don't understand that with 14 specifically, but I know that there's other games that have had that in the past. The context in which they were saying is that if you consider like boosts in game to get to crafting, to get to gathering, to get to the end game, to dominate the market, if the market is your winning, then it is a must. It becomes a required purchase. It becomes a required pre-order for 14 in that same case. You can't say that 14 is not and then go and condemn somebody for doing something similar, if not maybe slightly different. I don't consider...
That depends on if they can maintain that permanent lead. Do they get a permanent lead from that?
You can get a guild lead, but that's where when 14 comes about it, like what's really guild for, right? It depends on the type of game. New World being the case here of PvP, the fact that you can maintain that lead, you can control those zones. There's a benefit for you controlling that competitive nature of the game itself. So I can
have a reset mechanic like Guild Wars where you're only really one cycle ahead.
No, it does not.
Are you really going to be able to maintain them?
That's
the question.
That's the question. Yeah, we don't know because the game isn't.
You get to hold them for
the
first 3 days, and then everybody just comes and takes them.
It's like, okay, you didn't really. All right.
Cool. Well, over the first 2 years, we're going to look back and remember that time they were 3 days ahead.
Yeah.
You and I have taken more than 3 day breaks from our games.
Right. In the case of
we'd be behind anyway.
Right. Yeah. It's like we'll be able to catch up. Like that's the thing. I'm like, I'm not gonna be the guy who's there first.
I mean, have you played Final Fantasy today? 14?
Today?
Yeah.
No, not today.
Well, then you're behind. like there's always somebody that can play when you can. So selling
Right.
the boost is the same
Well,
thing.
and
It
that's-
doesn't
yeah.
matter. And the cash shop is where a lot of this comes from. They're just doing it to make the money. But can you name a single live service game that is free to play, sub to play, or buy to play? Can you name any of them that don't also eventually add some sort of cash shop if they have continued updates?
No, there's not one. And where people
Call of
were
Duty
also...
has one and it expires after a year.
What's that?
Call of Duty has one and it expires
Oh,
after a year. They
Call
have buy to play with a Game Pass and a
Cash
cosmetic
shop,
shop,
and
and
it's
it
1 year.
expires after a year.
Right. And then they have all the kinds of bugs and issues that they come out with every year. And you're like, why is this franchise making billions of dollars?
New World hasn't even put out gameplay yet, and we're already mad. Why?
Well, because we don't trust them. We don't know the devil. We don't know in that regards, right? So it's like you trust the person that even if like, because that's one of the things about all the drama is that like they're actively playing the thing they're ranting and raging against. And thus, essentially, it's like, well, oh, this other game's going to can do what this game's doing. How dare they even consider it? Now, to be fair, like Amazon hasn't released a game that they kept out on the market. Like the only one that they released, they clawed that back and said, sorry. And so as gamers go, like there's no necessarily trust that they're going to have in it as a franchise. People trust 14, but 14 is something that people might not get about why I think this subject is specifically fascinating. Is 14 lost the trust. 1.0 is a really good example of what can happen to a game franchise company when that happens. There's a premium currency in Final Fantasy XIV. It's called Karista. If things had planned out differently, I would have ventured a bet. I would put money down that was going to have a bigger impact on the game and the world. But things played out differently. 2.0 and beyond was about winning the trust back.
But it didn't fail
of
because
players.
it had a monetization problem.
Oh no! But
it had one,
right?
But that wasn't what was to
the
blame.
the new world thing. Like whatever it comes out as. If it's a good game, if people like playing it, they're going to do what Chris did with Guild Wars. Say, you got to come play this game with me. And then you know what? That cash shop, it's a good thing. People are like, oh, thank God that I'm having a great time and I want more of this great time. And I have a choice that I can decide to like opt in. Just like with Patreon or with Twitch or like with all the different ways people support content creators, which guys, if you got Amazon Prime and you're not using it on Twitch, go find somebody that you like that's putting out cool stuff. Doesn't have to be us. This isn't a me plug, but just remember, guys, you have that.
Go visit Llama Todd.
Go visit Llama Todd. The guy's raised some.
Go slam Todd with some Prime subs.
Yeah, go give him your Prime sub if you haven't done that already. Good shout out on that one. Good one, Chris. Man, the guy's freaking. He's smoking. All right, but to that point, like 2.0 was about reestablishing the trust, and we have that trust, and so yes, the cash shop, and then 14 does a really good job, even with its cash shop. Going above and beyond and saying this is what it's going to be used for. Like we're going to get the EU data center. And honestly, now we're getting the Oceanic data center. I don't think that would have happened if they were going back off the subscription only model. I don't think the subscription only model is something we're going to see. So somebody said on my video that I actually made about this last week that there's a game called Mortal Online 2. Well, A, never heard of it. B, it's not out. C, good luck. Like I hope I'm wrong. I hope that there's going to be a game that it's like we'll never have a cash shop. We're only going to charge $15 a month. That's our model. And then and I hope it succeeds.
Ashes of Creation, right? So
yeah.
Doesn't Ashes have the ability to already give them like up to $500? Isn't that their top end?
Not only that, like Ashes already has a cash shop that you can go pay for the stuff that they're already selling. Game's not even out.
People are like already convinced that it's the greatest made that's ever been made, and it hasn't been made.
I hope to God it comes out at this point, because like I was sitting here, I've kind of looked at it, and I was like, oh, maybe I'd like to get early access. I don't like paying for early access, but at the end of the day, I was like, well, like some of the things they're saying sound really exciting.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, it's like they have. Oh, like people are like it's gonna have a sub.
Cyberpunk said if we waited, we'd get a great, smooth, amazing launch of a perfect product.
And it's gonna be ready when it's ready.
It's gonna be ready.
Oh
we will delay it until it's perfect.
Yeah.
We will not release it as a partial product.
Right.
That's our promise. And 27 release dates later, it came out and it wasn't ready.
Yeah. See, I've always kind of maintained that like if
Anthem
collecting all the mounts in Final Fantasy XIV is your winning, then 14 would be a pay to win, because there is no way you can achieve your goal without spending money. It's all personalized. Pay to win, in my mind, is personalized. Outside of, obviously, I think what we would all agree on which be egregious. Like Chris shows up to the party and he spends $1,000, and now they put him 1,000 levels like ahead of us. Like if there was an ever evolving power.
You guys are only going to 90 next expansion.
And
I paid an extra $100, and I get to go to 91.
Oh,
I'm going to put out more DPS in every single instance. I'm going to start with my relic at the max level at the beginning of the expansion because that was an extra $35. That's pay to win.
Yeah. Everything else outside of that, I think, is like you as an adult choose to do with your money. And I think that's where transparency and trust come into play. I think it's so much more about transparency and trust so that you know, like, okay, like you said, like, which is the right model. I think it's about communicating that, like, hey, here's what we're thinking, and we want to work with our community to find out what's right. Like if Yoshi P said, listen, we're looking at this and we're thinking about adding these things to the shop and allowing us to kind of voice, is this good or bad or what we think about it? I would respect that a lot more than all of a sudden that stuff just showing up in the cash shop and Yoshi P saying deal with it. That's not who he is. Like at least that would be kind of a 180 in my opinion from what he's worked to establish in that regards. You know, and so that's just kind of where it's like, okay, if having the conversation, being open and having that communication is important. If Yoshi P said, listen, we're going to add a WoW token to 14. Well, there's positives and negatives there. There's a conversation there. Or, you know, if we're thinking about doing that, allowing the community who's actively playing and supporting this game to at least speak up and have their voice positive or negative. What I would hope that with the 14 community in that case would be is that if Yoshi P says, hey, we're thinking about this, let's talk about it, they don't immediately condemn him. Or condemn the game. Like, oh, that's it. They thought about, you know, another thing that I you know, I haven't even thought of for a second. I'm gonna have that hot take reaction, and just, you know, drop the mic and walk off. Good.
So then the question becomes when to buy a boost. So like by my theory, every dollar I spend on a game should result in an hour of joy. That's why I struggle with cosmetics, because for $10 or $20 for a mount, I have trouble justifying that I'm going to get 20 hours of joy that I would not get without that mount out of uniquely having that mount, because the mount does the same thing. It just looks different. So unless it like literally makes me laugh every time I mount up and then I just keep tally of those. Okay, that was 5 minutes of laughter, 5 minutes of laughter. Like, how do I get to 20 hours of joy out of that? I don't. And so I don't typically engage with cash shops because it doesn't bring additional joy to the game for me. There are people that get a lot of joy out of like Fantasing and they get their money's worth. I would not. So I don't do it. And so I don't boost in 14, and I don't think the leveling experience is a brilliant experience. I think it's a fine experience, but I don't boost because I enjoy running the instances and stuff like that. There's lots of ways to level, and when I'm not enjoying leveling, I just don't do it, which is why not everything's capped. World of Warcraft, they've given me boosts over the years. I've used those because they're free, right? That way they have to give me 0 seconds of joy to have paid out. And when they stopped giving me boosts, didn't bother me. Like, I don't need to boost this expansion. I don't care. Like, it doesn't give me any hours of joy. I'll level up they've made it so easy to level. Guild Wars 2 gave me a boost. Haven't used it yet. I will use it. I'm going to use it once I will get joy out of it. Right now, it's a free thing, and it just sits in my inventory waiting for when I want that second character. The Burning Crusade is coming out next Tuesday. I will be playing it live on stream. I want to play the Burning Crusade. I don't want to play Classic when the Burning Crusade is live. That is like waiting till Heavensward goes live and then playing ARR. That makes no sense to me. The Burning Crusade is included in my World of Warcraft retail subscription, so I am out no money. And I already know that the Burning Crusade Classic is going to give me joy during the leveling experience as I get to reminisce and go down memory lane, and during the heroic dungeons, which I feel are some of the best small man content ever put into an MMO. I know it's going to give me joy. So I have, theoretically, the ability to spend money. Now, if I don't have to spend money, that's great. That's joy for free. But if I
for free, baby.
If I need to pay for joy, I've got future hours in the bank. So what am I going to do? I'm going to buy a boost. Why? Because the 1 to 58 will give me no joy, and I can pay to jump straight into something that will give me joy. And the boost isn't that expensive. It's fine. I know that there's more than that amount of joy waiting for me in that expansion because I've literally already done it.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to clearing all of the heroics at least once. I'll be playing it once a week on stream, every week that there's something that counts towards that goal. I want to clear all the heroics at least once. I want to make it to cap. I'd like to maybe do like Netherwing dailies, just a couple other little things, but I'm not going to go back and grind and be best in slot like I did back then. That's not my goal. But you know, I have a set of things that I'd like, certain points that I'd like to go back and relive, like going back to a college or high school campus. I'd like to go back and just experience those favorite memories. And I know that that's worth the cost of a boost.
Yeah. So
Blizzard wanted the money. I'm willing to give it. It doesn't affect anybody else.
So the question to you guys in chat, and to you guys in the comments, to everybody in the community is that, is there something, if you don't feel like a game is pay to win, what would take it there for you for a game that is established, like 14? How would 14, what would it need to do for you to establish it? That's what I'm really curious about, because I don't view 14 as pay to win. I just don't. Actually don't even view anything that Amazon has said and has not said as positive or negative regarding the game. There's no game yet. Like, the game is out. When the game comes out, then all, all things are thing. I'm glad that there's that conversation happening now, not a year from now, when it's like, man, I've had a really great experience. Oh wait, they want me to pay money so I can keep up with our competing guild that's fighting for land. Like, that would feel horrible for me. That'd be annoying. I don't want to have to, I'm happy to support what I like. I'm happy to support. I'm happy. I bought a lunar whale, and I love it. I love my lunar whale. It is amazing. And, in the past, I wasn't buying... I haven't been buying those mounts, because the only mounts that I've gotten that are quote-unquote cash shop mounts, so they were given to us by going to FanFest as a part of that ticket, right? Like, I spent way more money...
That's how I justified buying the lunar whale.
I spent way more money, because I did not have to pay for a hotel, pay for flights, pay for food. I literally was like, I can sleep on this couch and I can roll right out and back into FanFest, baby.
I was ready to spend $200 or $300 or whatever it costs to go to FanFest round trip. It's probably $500 at least. Yeah. Out of your pocket. I mean, people count food, but I was going to eat if I was here, so that didn't make a difference. Right. So I was going to have to pay for flights, hotel, and all this, and I was already willing to do that. And so the lunar whale was an easy grab because it was FanFest. Yeah. If the lunar whale just came out for $5.5, I would have passed. Yeah. 100%. Because it didn't add anything. Right. But they said, this is how you say thank you for FanFest. That's the premise under which they added it. If you choose to support FanFest, these are the items we're putting in game to allow you to do so. Done. Cool. Done. Easy breezy. Lemon squeezy. All right, guys. I think this is a really interesting topic. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you did and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let us know if you do, so we can welcome you officially to the workforce. For Brian and Chris, for Work to Game, my name is Brian. I don't know why I said for Brian and Chris. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll hopefully see you in our next video. After that exit, I have no idea. No judgment, no hard feelings. But we'll hope to see you next time. But until then, take care. And he's Brian.